I guess this is how we do it. Hey, people, how you doing? My name is Tim Black. Welcome back to the Tim Black Show. Glad you could be here. This is a special presentation. We're gonna have. I got a number of guests for us today, so I'm excited about this, man. Sometimes I'm used to the routine, and this is a break from the routine. And I got three, not one, not two, but three great guests today. I want to introduce to you. Let me see if I can get everybody on the screen. I've never had more than two guests at once. So let's see how this works. Let's see. I'm gonna add one, my brother Nyheim. I add two, my brother Ali, and add one more, Sister Edwards Antonia, my sister. Everybody's in. How y'all doing?
You?
Hey, peace,
We're doing
brother.
well, thank you. Thank you for having us. We're really excited.
Absolutely. I'm excited too, man. This is great. Um, Folks, let me prep everybody in the audience to know what's happening here. Now, we all know reparations for Black Americans has picked up a little bit of steam. The folks in the mainstream media are talking about it. We got Congress talking about it. Ayanna Pressley, Representative Pressley, Representative Summer Lee, are reintroducing HR40, which gives us even extra springboard. I have today Nyhiem Way, co-founder of United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen, here, as well as brother Ali, as well as Antoina Edwards, to discuss not just what's going on with HR40 with Presley and Summer Lee and the Democrats, but also what's going on in Massachusetts, where the state organization, a task force of reparations, is doing their thing. So, Brother Nyheim, without any further ado, brother, pass it as you see fit to your crew, whatever. What's going on in Massachusetts?
Well, first and foremost, man, it's an honor to be on here. I've watched you for the past few years. I feel like I've made it. I feel like I've made it, man. I just got to say that. Thank you for having us on, man. What's going on in Massachusetts, and Sister Antonia will give some more detail. We'll let our brother Ali introduce himself as well. Is that we've introduced the first of its kind legislation into the state of Massachusetts. One of the main fights is centered on if reparations is going to be legal. You have somebody by the name of Edward Blum, the what is this guy's group name? The American Allegiance for Equal Rights, I believe it's called, something along those lines. He's
Alliance.
challenging Alliance. Okay, he's challenging everything. He's responsible for the affirmative action case, the ruling that came out in June of 2023, where people think affirmative action is dead, but it's not dead. It's just that the diversity rationale portion of affirmative action is dead. The part that pertained to us, with that great speech LBJ gave, that is still good law. And so what we did in the state of Massachusetts is my team and I drafted up two pieces of legislation. One is an older piece of legislation that was first drafted by my sister Antonia and then edited by myself and my brother Ali. And the second piece is the of trying to get a Freedmen's Affairs agency established in the state of Massachusetts that we wrote. And I mean, we believe that the bills are perfect. Again, they are the first of its kind. I want to pass it to my brother Ali, but before I do that, I'll say this. The way the legislation was drafted in Evanston, Illinois, it left room for that white supremacist right wing group to attack it because you cannot create legislation based on race. It's discriminatory in nature. And so they got that program halted, and eventually the judge is going to rule that this program is in fact discriminatory towards not only whites but other groups as well. So with that, I'll pass it to my brother Ali Bey.
Hey, peace, brother Tim. Good to be here, man. This is Ali. I'm a co-founder of the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen, as well as Be the Power, and Director of History and Research for the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen. And it definitely is an honor to be here. Yeah, like my brother was just explaining, this is a work that we've been these two pieces of legislation we've been working on for a very long time in terms of getting the language right. And for those who are familiar with all of the reparations advocacy going on around the country, it's been very important for a lot of us that the language is definitely right. And so one of the things that we realized that we should be doing based on our research that we've done over the past 5 years is utilizing the terminology freedmen. A lot of people want to know why would we use the term freedmen as opposed to Black American or anything else. Well, one of the things that came out of the affirmative action case, like Brother Nyheim just mentioned, was the fact that this freedmen terminology was a race neutral terminology, yet and still it's a terminology that applied to a specific class of Americans. Therefore, we're able to utilize this term to designate that class without invoking racial classifications, which are considered suspect classifications that trigger the doctrine of strict scrutiny. And so that's why we use the terminology freedmen, specifically American freedmen, to distinguish us from the Indian freedmen in the United States. And we've been able to do that with these two bills. We have a bill that's going to create a commission on remedial justice for the American freedmen families in the state, as well as, like my brother just said, a bill that would establish an agency for the affairs of the American freedmen in the state that will act as an administrative arm to handle all the business.
Got it. Makes sense. And I appreciate you guys elaborating on the reason why freedmen is important and use that as a designation. And also pointing out, Brother Bloom, the crafty way in which they move and how they shut that down. I think a lot of people think affirmative action is dead. So I appreciate you pointing that out. Antonia, let you say something. Hey, sister.
Thank you. Thank you again for having us. It means a lot to us. We're trying to share this information. So as the brother said, we worked really hard over the last year and a half to craft the state bill. We now have HD.3879, which is the agency to create an Office of Freedmen Affairs. And then that bill is in House Counsel. What happens is you do a proposal, it goes to the state rep, and the state rep then changes it to legislation language. So whereas the Elizabethan kind of thing. And then for further proof and validation, it goes to the House Counsel. So we're straight with that. We're just waiting for them to put the text in the bill. If you look it up, and again, that's HD.3879. The act to cure liabilities that ultimately restricted us is the commission bill. And we thought about it long and hard. At one point in time, we didn't want a commission or task force. We just wanted to go straight to the Office of Freedmen Affairs. But you have to have the commission to create the Office of Freedmen Affairs and then oversee and put the language in. So that bill is H33865. So those two bills have been sponsored, advocated by Brandy Fuka Reed. She is a state rep. She is awesome. She listened to us since 2023. She always gravitated towards what the message we had to say. We have met with several senators and state reps on the bill. We met with the Judiciary Committee, which the original bill was in, and it was in the protected class status, which I really wanted to be there because we want to enforce the fact that we are a protected class status like the Native Americans. And so we're hoping it goes back to that committee. The brothers and I, along with the support of the team, have worked vigorously to get this stuff done. And we're being heard and we're being recognized. There is nothing race-based. I do have met with other people sidebar and they wanted to collaborate with us to get a race-based bill, but they wanted to have African descent or people of African descent, and even African is race. So the brothers have really worked hard, and myself, to tighten the language to make sure that everything's foolproof, and they're listening. And so we have two bills in the State House. Also, I've been recently specially appointed to the Boston City Task Force, and so they're listening as well too. And that verbiage I worked on prior to doing this particular project with the brothers, and it was really important for me to have descendants of slaves in the U.S. at that time. And so that bill said, or that ordinance says blacks to descend from slavery in the U.S. And so we have now since changed that to American freedmen. So it's an honor to do this. I do this in honor of my grandmother. She taught me everything that I know. She migrated from the South to Boston back in the 40s, but I spent all my summers down South, and that's where I learned this heritage from. And I think that it's really important for us to step up to the plate and join forces to get this done, because we're not going to get it done under race. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that for that introduction, that primer. And I wanted to point out, as well as, a lot of people that when they hear about the HR40, because that's going to get the news cycle, it has the benefit of the corporate corporate media machine circulating into the masses. The average layperson is going to hear that and they're going to go, well, you know what, Tim Black, like, why would you deal with the state when you can deal with the federal? And we got the Democrats, they got all the power. They don't, but they have the muscle, they have the infrastructure in place to push this. So we know in 1989, they introduced HR40. Why do you think the HR40 bill is inaccurate, and why hasn't it progressed since its first introduction in 89? And Nyheim, however you guys want to go with this.
You want me to go first, or you want to go first, Nyheim?
Yeah, sis.
So HR40 has been reintroduced 3 times since John Connors, and they keep tweaking the language. And all of us across the nation have done a campaign and a call of action to fix HR40. We did that back in 2018-19, and we asked that Dr. William Sandy Darity from Duke University's edits be included. We've been blocked out. They wouldn't answer our phone calls. They wouldn't answer our emails. And this is across the nation, all the way over to California. The Reparations did a concerted effort to be heard. So you have Knockin' and Cobra, IBW 21 Pan-African groups who are in control of the narrative for us. And that's been the biggest problem, even in our own community in Boston and Massachusetts, but across the nation. Every time they enter this bill, they want to control the narrative, who gets paid, how they get paid. And we've been trying to tell people this since 2018-19. So the last time I heard about HR40, prior to Ayanna Pressley leaking that that's what it's about, was last year. And there's a Dr. Shabazz at UMass Amherst who said, no, we have to support HR40, and we're now New Africans. Who's a New African? Like, who put you in charge of renaming us? And so that's the thing. They continuously try to have the Pan-African ideology attached to reparations for us as American freedmen. And we don't all believe in the Pan-African ideology. And we don't even know if it exists other than here in America. So they're controlling the narrative. They don't allow us to have any input. The CBC blocked us out as well, too. And so even here in Boston, like sitting on at the table level with people here, they really believe that we should be kumbaya with our cousins in Africa and give them some of our money, and they should be a part of this. And they don't even care if somebody just got here yesterday. It's an all Black Lives Matter situation. And the team and I have been fighting vigorously to prevent that. It's been very difficult. And every document that I see, and I see all kinds of documents across the nation, Harvard's report, whatever, it'll say African descent. It'll say people of African descent. It'll say African Americans. But nobody asked us how we'd like to be addressed. And that's been the biggest problem. So HR40 is a Pan-African bill. And we tried. I have the receipts. We tried to get in. We tried to sit down with them. We tried to get Dr. Darity's edits in, and they just really blocked us. Nyheim, you want to go next, or Ali?
Yeah, let me add, right, from the political side of it, what we see Cory Booker and Ayanna Pressley doing right now, and Summer Lee, Jasmine Crockett, I believe, has lent her voice in this so-called push for HR40, is politics playing out in front of our eyes. You watch the party that had the power. There was a letter written to Joe Biden, and it was signed by over 400 lawmakers and activists, academics, scholars, etc., urging him to take action on HR40, on this issue of reparations. They were trying to press him before this administration got in, obviously, because we know that the Republicans or the right wing in America are not going to do reparations, just to be more precise, because the old school Republicans actually did reparations. That's what the whole Freedmen's Bureau and the bank and 40-acre land allotments were. They were a reparation or reparations. So, it's nothing more than a political stunt. And I think that people see it for what it is all across the country. They have no other leg to stand on. They did not come to the grassroots. Our sister Antonia is right there. She's right there in Boston, Massachusetts. She and Ayanna Pressley have crossed paths, several times already. And you never step to our sister Antonia and say, hey, sis, I've been hearing about your efforts, or congratulations for becoming the newest task force member of the Boston Reparations Task Force. Mm-hmm. By the way, this is what we're trying to do. What's your take on it? No, you said it was about as simple as that. Yeah, brother Ali, did you want to add anything to that? Or I don't know how you moving
Yeah,
the
real.
mic around, brother Tim.
Can I just
Yeah,
add one thing before Brother Ali starts? I just seen Ayanna Pressley at the MLK breakfast. I was asked to attend as a reparations task force member. My co-founder for the Solidarity Community Engagement Group, which is on the ground here with the engagers, we gave her one of our packets. She just took it and walked away. So she's my congressman, woman rather, and she never speaks to me. She never engages with me. So I just seen her as recent as Martin Luther King's birthday breakfast at the Omni Hotel on Waterfront. I just want to make sure that's clear.
Got it.
yeah,
Now, Brother Ali, if you got something to say, fine, brother. Go right ahead.
yeah. Really quick, I was just add on to the point Nyheim was making about the letter that was sent. Before they sent that letter, we actually drafted an executive order and sent to the Biden-Harris administration, which would have, if they signed it, if the president signed it, would have created a presidential commission on reparations specifically for the American freedmen families in the United States. These people ignored that completely ignored it. And so you see today here we have them now trying to jump back on this whole reparations thing, which I think is bogus. I think they're only using it so that they can then turn around and say, well, look, we tried to do X, Y, and Z, and the Republicans refused to do it. Well, when you had the power, like Brother Nyheim said, when you guys had the power to do it, you completely disregarded the whole thing. So I don't understand why you think people will buy into this concept now that you're serious about reparations and not only using it as a ploy to make Black people feel as if you're somehow on their side now and it's the bad Republicans that don't want to do reparations.
Exactly. I put out a piece of content, and basically that's it in a nutshell. And unfortunately, there's some Black folks that will fall for that. We'll take that bait. Those people that are not astute, have not, been privy to the real deal. There's one point you made that I want to point out, and I like to share with my audience because we hear this all the time. Republicans love to say how the party of Lincoln and MLK was a Republican, and they like to point out these issues whenever they're knocking the Democrats, and I knock the Democrats all the time. But the point is, well, why don't they go along with the true Republicans, as you pointed out, Nyheim, who supported reparations, who supported freedmen, as you pointed out. That's a dynamic point that Democrats can't make because Democrats, by and large, do not support reparations. I feel they do not actually support it. They support it when it's politically expedient to make a point that the Republicans are racist, which is what I believe is the true reason why this is coming up now as opposed to before. Given that the Biden administration focusing on Ukraine and USAID and corporate bailouts, what does it say that they won't fully back reparations?
So I'm sorry. Repeat the question.
Yeah, I just want to kind of drive home for people that what's going on now with the money. We're looking at
That's right.
US
Mm-hmm.
aid office, right? So we know the money that's going out the door for those NGOs, non-government organizations. Plus, we got Ukraine, and they still won't back reparations. How does your organization feel about that predicament? What does that say about the Democratic Party?
Well, it says that the Democratic Party, I call them the do nothing for us Democrats, that the doctrine of benign neglect is alive and well. It's probably never going to die with that wing of our political structure here in the United States of America. And the fact that so much money is available and our neighborhoods are still in blight, that you are importing our replacements from other places, particularly south of the border. You've let millions of them into the country, and these people have taken over pretty much. So if I was and I have this conversation all the time, look at reparations in a light where I'm focusing strictly on repair and what that looks like. And I think that many of us have a cookie cutter idea of what reparations should look like, understandably so, right? Cut the check, et cetera, is a mantra you hear some people using. The point of reparations is to repair. So if the current administration cares, obviously, about the repair of the American freedmen, then they would listen to us because we actually have a plan and we lay that out even in our Office of Freedmen Affairs, right? If I could just real quick, it says the director of, and this is for the Massachusetts bill, which would be the federal bill. It says the director of the Office of Freedmen Affairs shall provide guidance to the governor and legislator on policies and programs to support American freedmen residents, advocate for the equitable allocation of state resources, fundings, and opportunities tailored to American freedmen, enhance access to state programs, benefits, and services for American freedmen through strategic outreach and education initiatives, right? One of the things that Clarence Thomas said in his concurring opinion in the Students of Fair Admissions versus Harvard case, aka the affirmative action case, was that the government can remedy a race-based harm that it has caused so long as it furthers a colorblind constitution. And what we've drafted furthers that colorblind constitution. So that money is available and it needs to go to fixing up our neighborhoods.
Got it. And I love the distinction you're making here. It's just I was trying to juxtapose this with what they were doing at HR40. But you're right. Let's make that point clear, guys. What's important about what this organization is doing is they're focusing on lineage. And I don't want to others say this, but we need to say it just in case people watching don't listen. You can't focus on race. This cannot be about race. If it's about race, it has no choice, no hope of passing. Not a snowball's hoping hell that it will pass. So lineage, and that's directly tied to when he says freedmen, he's talking about those who were formerly enslaved, descendants of those formerly enslaved. That's not a race. That's a condition of a particular people that suffered that blight. Am I correct there, Nyheim? Is that Ali? Is that right?
Absolutely. Condition is another term for the word status, and we often use the terminology status. Some people might have seen our brother Marcel had a clip that kind of went viral not too long ago where he was talking about status, and I even saw Dr. King's daughter Bernice reshare it. She was like status based. It's like it hit her like, wow, yes, exactly, that makes sense. So yes, it is about status or the condition that our families inherited by way of that unfortunate institution, and that was very, very much a particular thing for us, and not everybody. I refer to it as the stain of slavery. It's something that we inherited and really couldn't help it. It's something that we just inherited as part of our lineage, our ancestry, and being connected to those people who were emancipated in this country.
Here goes a question. Why not look at this on a federal level? You're doing good work. You got a number of chapters. How many chapters do you have across the country?
Several. We got several.
Okay, several. Because I know you're in Georgia, but also Massachusetts. You're working out there doing great things.
Massachusetts, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, and the DC area, the DMV area, definitely.
Oh, you right down my block then. That's my
Oh yeah.
Bro. We need to hook up. So what I'm saying is, for people watching, and I think this is a question that has merit, why would we focus on state when we can focus federally? What is the impetus for focusing on the state level? I watched you earlier in the interview break this down for folks, why states are also liable, because people think, oh, well, you're not going to be able to get but so much money out of the state. And if this would have worked in California, how does that help me here in Maryland? How does that help us in Alabama? But what's the argument for the state level push?
So can I go first? Let me just explain. I'm Boston born and raised. A lot of people are under misconception that slavery didn't transpire up north. We have Boston, we have Massachusetts, we have New York. Massachusetts is really important to me because they are the first colony to sanction slavery with the Bodies of Liberty. And it was actually white clergy who penned the legislation in Massachusetts to legalize slavery here. And also Massachusetts is the first colony that started Jim Crow. So it's very important for me, to get that on the context. Also, I want to make sure everybody clearly understands, we didn't start this initiative. This was all started by Pan-Africans. They were going around locally, like Evanston, different areas, starting local reparations. And we've been running around putting out fires. So had we not been woke, let's just say, or as intelligent as the brothers and astute as I am, we would not have known what to do. And most people have reparation legislation going on in the city and states and don't even know. because they're doing it under equity inclusion, DEI, and so it's an African American bill, and so there's ushering stuff under race based. And so, well, as soon as we found out what was going on, we, so, split the assistance with the brothers and said, listen, we got a problem. So we tried it in Connecticut, where at the time, Jonathan Bryan, who's my co-founder, his family's from Connecticut. But for some reason, the population here didn't want to get involved. There's a lot of people that are black that don't want to get involved with it. So I came home and I just like, no, we're going to hit the ground running. And that's how we started it here. And I'm telling you, it's not because of us, we didn't start the situation, but then when you start seeing the legislation, it says African American, African descent. Another one is Global South. What's the Global South? And that all is the African diaspora. They changed the verbiage up with word gymnastic and word salad to throw people off. But it's a concerted effort across the nation to have the control the narrative of reparations for us, the descendants of slaves. And so we're just making sure you can have whatever reparations and racial injustices you want. However, when it comes to slave reparation, it's really about our ancestors. And we stand firm on that.
Yeah, if I could jump in
Sure.
real quick, and I'll try to be brief. We support local reparations. I interviewed Charles Blow on our Be the Power platform. Charles Blow wrote a book called The Devil You Know. And in that book, he speaks about our people who left the South during the two waves of what's called the Great Migration. And it depleted our numbers in the South. In the book, Blow speaks about us coming back to the South. And during the interview, I asked him about local reparations, state-based reparations, because in his book he spoke to that, and I told him that we can't we follow behind certain other individuals, and that we reject race-based. I mean, excuse me, we reject federal legislation. Excuse me.
State level, the state level
The
approach.
state level, my bad, I got 1,000 texts coming through at the same time as well. State level reparations. So Charles Blow pushed back. Charles Blow said, well, most of these atrocities happen in these states. And if they have the capacity to do something, then they should. And I said, you know what? You're absolutely correct. And I changed my tone. So if a state like Boston, like Massachusetts, where the freedmen in Boston are only worth $8 at the median, has the capacity to do something. A state like California that has the budget, that has the capacity to do something, then they should do something. And what happens in, let's just say, Massachusetts or California is not going to affect what happens in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, etc. And so our fight isn't just at the local or on the local front. It is still at the federal front as well. We're just, getting incremental victories where we can to build up that critical mass to whereas now you can't ignore us. You can't.
Gotcha. I want to dive a little bit deeper into your bill. Massachusetts, sorry guys, Massachusetts Bill HD3879. How does that bill differ than the language in HR40? Now I know it differs in the race base, but it also differs in what are the tangible reparations you're seeking? I think you had a dollar amount that you were seeking there in Boston.
You talking about HD 3879?
I think it's 379. Is establishing a Massachusetts agency? Is that the same thing?
Affairs. Well, it's not quite the same thing. The agency is the entity that would actually handle things such as genealogical research, the creation and maintaining of a database of eligible recipients, the issuance of resources once the determination of what types of resources and what types of remedy would need to be administered. It would help with the administration of those things. And so it would kind of function as that type of entity that would be the go-between between government and the people, sort of like the Freedmen's Bureau was in the past. It's a pass-through where the people can go to for actual assistance, etc., and it has the information on the people who are supposed to be serving.
So I'm sorry. So let me restate that. So you have two bills, right? One bill is for the administration process, the actual determining who is eligible. And man, interrupt me and clear me up if you need to, because I'm new to this bill, how this works for you guys. But then the other bill is what separates the two bills? See, what is the other side?
So the other bill is to create a commission. In the state of Massachusetts, the commissions are the entities that make all of the determinations. They do the fact finding, they create the reports, and then they also make the recommendations on how to address the problems that they discovered during the fact finding process. And so that's what that commission would be established to do, is to do all of the fact finding, to create the reports, publish the reports, then make recommendations on how to address and remedy the problems that they discovered during that process. And so that's the difference. So the agency would be the thing to actually do, right? It's sort of like, you know, a lot of times people would ask, why do we need a Freedmen Affairs agency? Just cut the check. Well, that's not how the government works. The government works using agencies and instrumentalities of the government to do X, Y, and Z. So you have, for instance, on the federal level, you have the Treasury Department. Under the Treasury Department, you have the Internal Revenue Service. Those things function in a specific way. And so when it comes down to issuing checks, it comes through there. Even though Congress has the power of the purse, the actual distribution of finances comes through the Treasury, the Internal Revenue Service, etc. And so the Agency of Freedmen Affairs would function in that same capacity by, like I said, creating a database of who the eligible recipients are under the American Freedmen classification, and then being able to distribute or administer whatever types of resources and remedy that it deems necessary or has come about based on the recommendations of the commission.
How can other states implement a similar framework? Because it seems like you guys have, as you pointed out, you put years and years of work into this. It sounds very well thought out, very detailed. I can see what people say, hey, cut the check, but there are steps and there's a procedure to actually getting to the point of cutting a check. Yeah, how can that be implemented? How can other states follow Massachusetts' lead? What needs to happen for more state level initiatives to occur?
Well, I would just say real quickly, organization, right? A lot of people are actually afraid of organization, right? Because people don't want to be called groups, and we're not a group. Yes, you are. You're a group. The best thing you can do as a group is organize, right? You organize your group so that you could then flex your political muscle and do what needs to be done at your local and state levels. I don't understand why people would be afraid of being a group, right? Do what needs to be done. So part of what needs to be done from a foundational level is organization, right? That's what we did. That's what all of these other groups, even the Pan-Africans, they're organized. The reason why, like my sister said, we're running around putting out fires is because these people are organized, and they've been that for years. That's why some of them are called legacy organizations. But the fact of the matter is these groups have been organized for years, and they've been able to do certain things based on the fact that they understand the necessity for organization.
Brother Ali, I don't mean to cut you off, man, but I'm just gonna be dumb and just say it, man. When you say putting out fires, I want you to break down what that means, because it sounds like we got people that's on one road and they kind of speaking for people in, I don't know, I guess they got this shit. I don't know. It sounds like they're going the wrong direction. You say putting out fires, you're saying, hey, no, you guys are doing this. We need to help you with this. How does that even work? How do you approach groups that are already functioning, right or wrong, and try to steer them, it sounds like you got to basically carjack them in order to get them to go the right direction. It's for the greater good. It's for the actual help. You're helping Black people. You're helping freedmen. You're helping people that deserve the descendants of formerly enslaved people. So it's for a great cause. It's not for your self-edification. It's not for bragging rights, right? But I'm just imagining that being a difficult process, man, with people being power hungry. Some people doing this for shine, some doing it for clout. And how do you do it?
Persistence, right? You got you got to be there. That's number one. You have to be there, and you have to have the will to actually fight and to be persistent, because I got to be honest, it's a fight. The putting out fires part is a fight, and it's something we were just talking about in the Twitter space yesterday with our brother Devon, who's part of the New York Freedmen organization, the U.S. Freedmen Project, and they've been fighting very hard in New York to try to get the people in New York who had the bill passed to create the commission there to do things that are not race-based. And that's really what the fight is the fact that, like my sister was just saying, the Pan-Africans are the ones who are pretty much spearheading these state and local initiatives. What we've been doing in terms of this concept of putting out fires is trying to meet them at those locations to try to cut off what they're trying to do, which is a race-based thing. They want it to be for Africans, people of African descent, African Americans, Black people. But we're trying to tell them, if you're serious about justice, if you're truly serious about the issue of justice and the administration of justice for the families that came up from slavery in this country, what you're going to do is you're going to take the right approach. Let's not pretend like Edward Bloom and his organizations are not successful. Let's not pretend like they're not formidable opponents when they actually are. We saw what happened with the affirmative action case. They had a positive outcome there. This is the same man who's also responsible for what happened with the Voting Rights Act. Okay, the undoing of this Section 4, I believe, of the Voting Rights Act is because of him and his efforts. So I don't want us to ever think that this man is not a formidable opponent. The fact of the matter is he's been very successful in his attempts, and the way that the government is structured right now with a lot of these conservatives who are anti-reparationists themselves, they can really position themselves to undermine what we're doing in a very major way. And so to me, organization is a necessary component. You have to be there, and you have to have the will, and you have to have the knowledge. And so we were very blessed in the sense of we were able to get certain information and then have it confirmed with the affirmative action case and the commentaries and that came out of that case from Clarence Thomas, from Gorsuch, from the other what's the other guy's name on the court?
Kavanaugh. At the oral hearings.
Absolutely.
He confirmed one of our positions.
So all of that stuff has been important, and we've been blessed to watch it all unfold in front of the public on these things that we've been talking about for the last 5 years. So yes, putting out fires, man, it really is an issue of trying to stop the Pan-Africans from approaching it from a race-based perspective and to adopt the approach that we have, which is a race-neutral one.
It sounds almost, in audience, this is not them talking, this is me talking. If you know you can't run the triangle offense, it's been banned by the league. Why the hell would you try to run the triangle offense? Time to work on a different offense, unless you ain't really trying to score, unless you don't really want to play, unless you ain't trying to get the ring. That's all I'm saying. It's just what it sounds like to me. I mean, I'm not even
Brother Tim
to know what you guys know, but my audience, I want them to just hear, because I don't want nobody to say, Tim, you weren't being bold enough, you weren't speaking your mind. That's what I'm thinking. Now, he ain't correct me, brother, if I'm wrong.
No, you're 100% right, man. And I know my sister Antonia wants to speak to some of that as well, especially when it comes to the putting out fires part. That is just let them know what that looks like. Give them a blow by blow, if you can, briefly, on what that looked like to put out the fire directly, to be right there dealing with the Pan-Africans behind the scene.
So my handle on Twitter is stilettos on the ground, because I wear skirts and dresses all the time. And let me tell you, my stilettos are on the ground. I attend probably like 50 to 100 meetings a month, whether they be on Zoom and in person. And you have to be everywhere because there's so many conversations going on. I found that connecting with the older generation, they believe in the Black liberation, Black power movement. And I'm saying the Pan-Africans of yesterday are not the Pan-Africans of today. And when I'm uncovering stuff and explaining it to them, I'm like, they're all about the bag. They don't care about anything else. It's about the money. They set up their 501(c)(3)s. They want the money to be funneled to them, and they literally don't care. And they want the all black, I call it the All Black Lives Matter initiative, because it covers everybody that's melanated. And so they're just trying to get the money for their people. The more people, the more they can control. And they want to be in control of the money. Literally, they want to be in control of it. So it's really difficult in the sense of who's on first, and you have to stay 10 steps ahead of the game. I mean, the brothers can tell you, I'm always at a meeting. I'm always in the room. I'm always surveying the room, finding out who's who, who's saying what or whatever. And this doesn't just um, affect the state and the local. It affects the white clergy here who want to pay reparation, white guilt. Those are the people who they're talking to face, and they're getting the money from Liberation Ventures, Makata Foundation, because a lot of them will tell you, I'm not used to talking to black people. I talk to white people. Brother Nyheim can tell you that. The brothers came here for a debate. They didn't want to debate us. They couldn't find anybody to debate. So finally, we reached out to Cam Howard, and he came. And but the gentleman that's here, that was the only person that was willing to debate us. He said, "I'm sorry, I don't debate black people. I'm used to debating white people. They spend so much time with white guilt that they avoid us like the plague. And then they can change the narrative, the verbiage. They can change it to whatever they want to. Like, for instance, one of the biggest things that people say is Black Boston. What's Black Boston? You have all these different people from different countries that don't think they're black when they don't want to be black, but then all of a sudden it's reparations and they're black. I mean, so that's what we're facing here. So when I say putting out fires, literally on rollerblades, going from meeting to meeting, making sure that we're saying the people in the room understand where we're at. And I feel like sometimes, and this is no disrespect to a Jehovah's Witness, I carry folders every day. I'm passing out folders to people, United Sons and Daughters of America. No, serious, I do. I have a whole backpack and I'm passing out stuff every single day, educating my people. I collaborate with other people to get more information that leads to why this country was only 1% black immigrant prior to 1965. So that's our people. You know what I'm saying? When you can get reparations for your racial injustices for court or whatever, but when it comes to the legacy of slavery, it's truly about our people. And you're not going to make me believe that you were here. And if you weren't here during the 250 years of slavery, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, Black codes, lynching, castrations, then this is not the lane for you. You can't get reparations because you're black. Just because you're black. That's what they want. And that's what putting out the fires is, changing the narrative, making sure that you're at every venue, making sure you're at every meeting to make sure that we're overshadowing with our information. Because if we don't, they have 30 years on us. One of the things I say to people in the community is like, since Martin Luther King was assassinated in Malcolm X, we were walked into a catatonic state. They took advantage of that. These people have at least 30 to 50 years ahead of us. And so our people are now just waking up. Our people are now just recognizing what's going on. So we're there to give them the education.
So you're basically photobombing their organization. You you parachute in, and you on a Zoom call, you be like,
That's right. That's right.
That's bold. That sounds like the hardest part of advocacy. I mean, you on solid grounds and foundation for what we're pushing for, what the fight is, but having to deal with these people that are, for lack of a better term, man, basically sellouts, just trying to corporatists trying to get their money right. That sounds like the real battle. And but when the people hear, Ms. Edwards, when they hear from you and they get the opportunity to be the benefit of your information, then how does the room change then? Does the room warm up to your message?
We have a lot of people here in Boston who have been introduced to since 2022, and I'm really grateful to have them. I mean, they really support the initiatives that we've done. But I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. People have one foot in the water and one foot on sand. They don't keep. They just want to know who's going to get the bag, who's going to get the check first, and their allegiance and their loyalty is not to any side of it. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I find that a lot. Like, people will change their colors. They're like chameleons, you know what I'm saying? And they'll go with this side if they think they're getting, a leeway, or they come over our side, whatever. But they can't refute the facts. This is facts. This is not something that's made up. It's not an ideology. It's not a cult. It's not, somebody's, wishful thinking. So they lean towards us, but at the same time, they're like, well, I wonder if I hook up with them because they're going to get that 401, that money for the 501c from Liberation Ventures, and I can get a couple of dollars in my pocket right now. They'll go to them too. They sit on the fence. I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand where people have been working really tight to get this stuff done here, but then let somebody trickle a little bit of $100, $200, pay the rent or pay the light bill or buy some groceries, and they're on the other side. Then when they see me again, Antonia, we need to do this, we need to do that. So they're fake.
I get it. And I appreciate you being honest. Just tell it like it is. I mean, I would hope that things would be different, but the reality is what it is. We can't fix it if we want to accept what it is. How have things changed now? What's the forecast now under a Biden administration? I mean, under a Trump administration. Does that change the strategy? Does that change how you want to approach it? Does it forecast? How does that look for you guys going forward now for the next 4 years?
Okay, Ali, you want to touch on that?
No, I mean, if I would, if anything, maybe you want to bring up the efforts with you and Marcel, the things that you and Marcel have been doing together.
Definitely. So I don't want to give out too much details, but myself and brother Marcel have been in contact with some people, let's just say, and our hopes is that we can get a sit down soon and present what we have. At the very least, that's what we're here for. That's what our politics look like. Here is a way that we believe that the dollars that are being saved through all of this Doge money uncovering and cutting off the immigrants and all of these different things. Well, here's a way for those dollars to be useful in communities that never saw that money, while other communities that not only came to this country and were able to build themselves up businesses and I've seen whole Mexican strip malls, but then send billions of dollars a year out of the economy in remittances to other countries. If what we're presenting says our money is going to stay within the economy to help strengthen the economy, I believe that anybody that cares about the United States of America is going to listen to that plan. You take a people that's at the bottom of the bottom economically, and you ensure cash infusions into their businesses, into their ventures, whatever that business is, on top of the fact that we would be able to hire our own, we would be able to, through a federal Freedmen's Bureau agency, assist with simple things like rents and light or electric bills, because our people represent the largest evicted group since 2022, and that number probably has been that way for the longest, with the majority of those evictions being our women. So, we have some ideas that we believe are great ideas insofar as when it comes to uplifting our people, because our ancestors already paved the way and gave us a blueprint.
You know what I would like to see happen? I would like to see some of our grassroots organizations get more involved in the Freedmen's Bank forums. I don't know what the administration plans to do, whether they're going to continue those Freedmen Bank forums or they're going to stop them or what. But what I would like to see happen is for actual Freedmen organizations to become more hands-on in terms of those Freedmen Bank forums and the presentations that go on with them, and to be more involved in the direction of the resources that come from that, etc., and making sure that those things actually go to Freedmen businesses, Freedmen organizations to help strengthen our footing, economic footing in society, being that they're using our families' plight in the first place.
Right.
Exactly. And can I just make a statement, Tim? What I'd like to see is for the grassroots organizations to be who they really are. We have a situation here in Boston where we were invited to the table to create one bill prior to submitting our two bills. And we thought we were there. We were like 90% there. And so we had Urban League, we had NAACP, we had ADOS, and none of them fought for lineage-based reparation. But on Twitter and on social media, did a total opposite. So we have the receipts for that, by the way, too. So we're really tired of people being fake, even on the reparationists across the nation. So not just people in the community, but when I'm sitting at a table and there's 15 people in the room, and I'm the only person speaking of lineage-based, heritage-based, and I'm saying American freedmen, and I have people that we know very well saying, no, people of African descent and can't define it, that's really troubling to me. Because they present one way in a meeting behind closed doors, but then when they're on social media, it's total opposite. And so the brothers can tell you, we backed out of the whole meeting because they refuse to take people of African descent out of the verbiage. What is a person of African descent? And we explain that we here in America, we're a mixed bag. We're not just African descent. And so somebody, the major leader from ADOS, begged us to stay, and we backed out of it. Take our name off everything, take American freedmen out of it. So their oppositional bill, just to spite us, says African American, it says people of African descent, freedmen, freedwomen, and their descendants. That just really happened January 3rd.
Yep.
So that's what we're
Trying to
going through. So we want
undermine.
people to keep it right. We want people to keep it real. And so I said to the brothers, I feel like when you see this stuff behind the scenes, if I don't say anything, then I'm complicit too. And I'm hiding your secret. But we clearly have the receipts and the documentation that the ADOS Foundation Group's leader was a part of this. And he invited us to the meeting. However, he was with the Pan Africans. He didn't want to say a freedman. He didn't want to take the race base out. He wanted to have people of African descent. So that's another thing. Those people are sitting on both sides of the fence playing a dangerous game. And this is our livelihood. This is our inheritance.
Right. Absolutely. What's the call to action, folks? I mean, use my platform as you wish. What message do you need to get out? What directive would you like to give people that are watching that may tell their friends that somehow maybe we can get a small surge going? What would be good, Nyheim, for you to
Well,
assert?
we actually have a call to action crafted. We're waiting for the language of the second bill to populate on the Massachusetts website, and we've actually discussed just doing a call to action before that happens, because we want to present it as a package deal, as both bills complement each other. So right now, this is the call to action, right? For you to go and read that legislation and understand the process and understand the fact that this thing has to be written and drafted a certain way. When you look at HR40, for instance, the way HR40 is written, if you really look at it, it's not real reparations. What they want is the money to go into a trust that Narcan and Cobra will oversee. And I guess you get the money as they please, which means, as Ron Daniel said, the founder of one of them, the president of one of them, Narco and Cobra, said, I don't, and I heard this with my own ears, I don't care if they came over here on a plane last week, they deserve reparations. And that is simply not true. So we just got to make sure that we're getting the message out. And that's what we're doing right here with you inviting us onto your platform, which I am like deeply, deeply grateful for, brother.
Absolutely. And I would just add this real quick. I'll let you go in. I would just add that the call to action is going to be one where we'll be looking for support from the family around the country to influence these state reps, state legislators to sponsor and co-sponsor the bill. And once we get that together, we'll have all of the information for people to contact, who to contact, the emails, phone numbers, etc., what we need to tell them in terms of making sure they identify the bills that we're talking about and why it's important to them in terms of setting a precedent about what it is and how we're supposed to be approaching these particular legislative approaches. Go ahead, sis.
So I'd like to leave my contact information because I think that people need to reach out to one of us or all of us at least, and then also join United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen. My email address for the organization is my first name, Antonia, at USADOF. So that's Antonia, ANTONIA, at USADOF .org. Look up the website. We have a lot of information on the website. And join our organization. We'd like to use this as a blueprint to have each state follow suit. It's been successful. It works. We can tweak it for each state. And so because I'm the community engager for United Sons and Daughters, I don't have a problem sitting down talking to people, providing the information, sharing it, and actually coming to your city and state and helping you get everything set up. And that's what we're here for. We want to make sure that we have the coverage across the nation to represent our heritage as American freedmen and make sure that we're being recognized. And so that's what I'd like to see. And I'd also like to see other American Freedmen platform showcase us throughout the whole process and see how we've been progress on this bill. That's what I like to see. And I really thank you again for having us. It means a lot to us.
Well, absolutely, folks, and fam, definitely you guys can come back. You know, my only hesitation was making sure that I could be a steward to have you guys. I'm honored that you reached out,
Yeah.
Nyheim, for this opportunity, you know, but you know, man, I've been burnt before. You know, I didn't know who Mark Thompson was 6 years ago, 5 years ago. He was like, you know, he saw my name was doing a little something. He's like, hey, you want to come on? And he was like, hit me with all this shit. I was like, I didn't know, you know, I hadn't met with Dr. Dirty at the time, you know, and spoken with, you know, people who could really pull your ear. And that's what happens sometimes.
Right.
So you go out there, you jump out there, and now you got sound bites, and you got this guy Kumbaya, and like I'm a different person than I was 5 years ago.
Exactly.
You know, no Jewish Americans are sitting around talking about everybody. Yeah, you know, everybody.
That's right.
They very specific.
Yeah, Mark Thompson is definitely the ops.
Yeah, there you go. Native Americans are like, yo, everybody, anybody who think they got Indian in their blood, you know, no.
That's right.
So the idea that they would want to float that Black Americans, freedmen, should operate with such reckless abandon with the lineage is crazy. It's stupefying, man. It's actually an insult. It's insulting, really, if you think about it. And that's how I think most other ethnicities or even people would see it. Folks, throw me a bone. HR40 is being reintroduced for. They done dragged this old corpse back out again, and they're and they're getting a news cycle. And Miss Edwards, Antonia, you can be excluded if you don't want to burn bridges with your representative. But
I want to clarify something. So there was a slight email that was sent that's saying that she was going to introduce a reparations package. I was really shocked though with HR40. So to me, you really didn't put any work into it. It already exists, and the Pan Africans are controlling it. So we start from scratch. We build documents based on and legislation based on scratch. You know what I'm saying? The first bill that was done, we would go in the lab and we did it. And these brothers worked really hard on the second bill. So if you're recreating something that's been on the table for 30 years, how much work did you really put into it? And it does look desperate. And you didn't ask for our input. And it's an all Black Lives Matter initiative. And that's what really troubles us. It's not about, they use the legacy of slavery to springboard it, but then once it gets some momentum or conversation, it's an all Black Lives Matter situation. And it's the most egregious and disrespectful thing in the world. To take the legacy of slavery out, get reparations because you're Black or whatever, but don't use our ancestors and ride out the coattails of the blood, sweat, and tears and lynching and castrations and the forced ancestral breeding. None of that you want to talk about. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. I've been in meetings with high, powerful people of our descent, most American freedmen. I'm like, we don't want to get into that slave stuff. That's old. We don't want to talk about that. We just had a meeting recently, and they don't want to include the Great Migration. I'm like, how do you not include the Great Migration when we migrated? They're like, it takes too much time. It's going to take too much time.
Yeah, they like using.
So we're really anal about that.
They like to restate our condition, but they don't want to talk about truly how we got to that position.
Exactly.
Brother Ali, what are your thoughts about it? Go ahead, brother.
I didn't hear, say it again.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brother Ali. What are your thoughts? I'm gonna go to you last, Nyheim. Brother Ali, what are your thoughts about HR40 and its reintroduction? And that's sad that they got all those resources in the federal government and they can't even do a new bill. But go ahead, Brother Ali.
I just have to say again, man, it's being used as a ploy. You know, it's really being used as a ploy to try to reel Black Americans back into the party, number one, because I know they believe that they've lost, or they can see that they've lost a lot of support from Black Americans. But at the same time, they're also going to be using this particular tactic because they know that they're not going to be able to get it passed, and then they can blame it on the Republicans and say, see, we tried to do X, Y, and Z for Black America, but it's these bad Republicans who don't want you to have what is rightfully yours. And so this is why y'all need to come on back home and join back up with us and vote us back into office, et cetera, et cetera. It's just a tactic and a ploy that they're using, you know, for their own purposes, man. It's nothing other than that as far as I'm concerned.
Politics as usual. What about you, Nyheim? Take us home on that point, brother.
Definitely, man. And I'll go here with it. I've found several instances where the Democratic Party does not support reparations. Janet Yellen was at the slave, quote unquote, slave dungeons, and I believe that was Ghana. I think that was last year or 2023. And she was asked, the emotion. So a reporter from the Associated Press asked her, "So does this, make you want to do reparations for the African Americans?" And she was like, "No, the administration does not support reparations for, they don't support reparations. Instead, they hit us with the same tired line that Barack Obama would often use and was used before Barack Obama. We would rather invest in education." This is the thing that was said. When you look, Gail King did a segment on CBS Morning News. This was, I believe, last year, and she was speaking to the statements made by Tommy Tuberville, that racist guy, former coach, I believe, of Tennessee. He was doing a rally speech for Trump, and he spoke about they want reparations for the times that it was just some nonsense that the devil speaks with forked tongue. So one of the things Gail King said when she covered it was she put up a quote that said, "But currently the Democrats do not support reparations." I have that clip, and so we see this for what it is. We see that it is merely a ploy, and the bill itself is a nothing burger. It does nothing. It's a time waster, and we have no more time to waste. Our people need immediate action. You didn't make a move on the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. You were willing to negotiate away the one piece of power in the act, which was the ending of qualified immunity, all for the purposes of appeasing the other side. Jim Clyburn was the one that went on media saying this. He already said, I was there in the building at the Democratic National Convention in South Carolina 2 years ago, where he said he does not believe in cash reparations. The Democrats are full of crap. Point blank, period.
Point blank, period, man. Thank you very much, folks, for joining me, man. What a conversation. What an amazing segment, man. People are going to really get some benefit out of this. Folks, believe me, all the links will be in the description box below where you can go to find out more information. Check out the website. A wealth of information is there. They got a list of what their mission is. I didn't go through it, but it's there. You can definitely check it out. I say support it, become a part of it. This is our time. Do not let them co-opt our true mission. Our mission is to fight for the people. Thank you, Antonia, Nyheim, my brother Ali, for joining me. I appreciate y'all, United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen in the Timberlake Show. All right,
Thank you, brother.
You got it.
Thank you for having us again. We're honored. Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you all. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. 1, 2, 3. And we are out.